special on-demand edition of the Stadium Journey podcast. We hope everyone out there is taking care of yourself, both your physical and your mental health. If you're looking for something to do while you're practicing your proper social distancing, go to our website, stadiumjourney.com. You can follow us online on social media. We're on all the channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Just follow us at Stadium Journey. And you can follow the Stadium Journey. You can find the Stadium Journey podcast and all of HIAC Talk Radio's other great shows at thebradyhicks.com, or just look us up wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Follow the HIAC Talk Radio Network on Twitter at HIAC Talk Radio. And if you'd rather watch your sports talk, got nothing better to do than just listen, you want to watch too, we have all our podcasts simulcasted live on twitchtv.danlaw83. Or if you miss one, follow us or find us at youtube.com/danlaw83. And here's our starting lineup for today. We've got Dave Cotney. Follow him online at ProFan9. Mark Viquez can be followed at Ballpark Hunter. Follow our producer, the above average comedian, Dan Calachico at DanLaw83. And you can follow me, Paul Baker, at PuckmanRI. And today we are very happy to be joined by Andrei Ojeda. Let me say that again, Andrei Ojeda, Stadium Journey's California correspondent. Welcome, Dre.
Hey, what up, Paul?
Hey, and you want to give a shout out to where our listeners can follow you online?
And yes, they can follow me at, follow my Twitter handle at GoodDrei, GOD_DREI.
Awesome. So one of the good things, one of the very only good things about everyone being quarantined is we were able to find a time that works to get you on the show. So we're going to talk a little bit about LA and maybe other California venues. So.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So you've been with Stadium Journey for quite a while. Ray, you were just telling us off the air. 6 years now, you were saying?
Yeah, 6 years. Going on 6 years.
And you are based out of Southern California, but you have, in fact, covered California from top to bottom for us pretty much over those 6 years.
From LA to the Bay to San Diego.
So let's jump right in with a conversation about California venues. Let's talk about some of your favorites right off the bat.
Oh God, that's a good one. Dodger Stadium was my first venue I went to, my 8th birthday, 1982, and that's pretty much what I call my summer home. And of course, out here in California, we have so many venues, historic venues as well, especially here in LA between the Coliseum and the Rose Bowl. So much history just here in LA between those three stadiums. Other venues, if I was to pick any one favorite venue, I guess it would be Dodger Stadium, because that's the one I frequent the most, especially with baseball having so many games during the season, and that was my first true venue that I went to. So that's again been my summer home. I had season tickets for UCLA football for almost 10 seasons, and having grown up about 10 minutes from the Rose Bowl, that was another one I would frequent a lot. And then of course, over the years, having had a chance to go from venue to venue here within the state. This may hurt some Dodger fans, but I kind of do have an attachment to Oracle Park as well. Definitely a lot more fan friendly than Candlestick ever could be. I've had a chance to go to several games there since its opening in 2000. Fans in Oracle Park are a lot more friendlier. I still get ribbed on every time I wear my Dodger blue, but other than that, it's a wonderful ballpark.
Take your life in your hands. From what we hear out here, is it as bad as they claim it, or just a couple isolated incidents?
You know what? Over the years, certain Dodger fan, it's hard to lump. I mean, it's always going to be a small percentage, but Dodger fans, and to a degree, it's been deserved. They've had a reputation because of incidents that have taken place at Dodger Stadium. Of course, the one that was documented was in 2011 when
Yeah.
Brian Stowe was beat up in the parking lot, and that really cast a black eye for a while on the Dodger organization, as well as the McCourt ownership. That was the first year, because of a lot of things that were going on with the Dodger organization at the time. Attendance fell drastically, and that was the first time they failed to cross the 3 million mark in how many years. The Dodgers had, they've always, for the last 30 plus years, been atop the majors.
Yeah, they've always have drawn well. It just seems like the place to be. And but piggyback on that a little bit, if somebody said, "Hey, let's build a new Dodger Stadium," what would your reaction be to that?
You know what? I probably would not be for. I probably would do my. I'd probably be one of the organizers of the human chain.
Oh, okay. That's what I figured.
Of Dodger Stadium. I mean, you might say that's the equivalent of asking Paul how would he feel if Fenway was being there.
I'm all for it. Knock it down and build a new one, please.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, Dre, I was just out in California, I'd say 2 months ago, and got to tour Dodger Stadium. Very impressive place. They're doing a lot of work there, right? What exactly are they doing?
So what they're doing is they're doing some enhancements. They're adding mainly out in the outfield, adding some more concessions, a play area for kids, and a bar underneath the pavilion. They're also what they're also doing is they're also setting it up so that fans can actually wander throughout the ballpark now. Because one thing about Dodger Stadium over the years is that it was one of the more restrictive ballparks in the big leagues. And, at the time it was built in 1962, that's actually how Walter O'Malley wanted it designed, so that fans can enter and exit through the sections that they were leaving instead of having to navigate through ramps. And of course, we all know today that's not the way fans go to sporting events. It's all about the experience now, the social gathering. So, and fans, especially baseball fans, they want to walk around the park and gather the different viewpoints, especially baseball travelers. They they want different vantage points. So that's one thing Dodger Stadium was also doing, is they're actually adding some pedestrian bridges as well to connect all the levels, so that fans actually can wander throughout the entire yard. So that's one thing a lot of fans are looking forward to as well.
So what would you say about the location of Dodger Stadium, and how does that play into the experience? Because it's becoming more unique in that the majority of, I think vast majority of Major League Baseball parks are in these downtown locations, and my recollection is that Dodger Stadium is absolutely not.
I forgot what reporter. There was a reporter here in LA that once said the best thing about Dodger Stadium was its location because of its scenery, and the worst thing about Dodger Stadium was location. Because of its access. Thing about LA is it's really hard to grasp what's really a central focal meeting point for any venue, because LA is just so spread out. And as for the public transit here, or I shouldn't say lack of it, but you pretty much need a vehicle to get around, no matter where you're trying to get to. So, Dodger Stadium, it's one of those unique settings where the location, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. It's a benefit and also a deterrent. The Dodgers still draw 3 million a year, so obviously the fans are still coming out, but again, as for its location, I wouldn't say it's the worst. It's really hard to answer that question here in LA.
So let's segue into for those of our listeners who have not been out to the LA area. LA is legendary for traffic, and you know, from getting from point A to point B can take a while. I can personally testify that we went
We all
from
can.
Venice Beach to Anaheim, which I think is probably about a 25, 30-mile ride, but it took us an hour and a half to get to a Ducks game. So
That's pretty good.
is that the norm,
Venice to
or
Anaheim?
speak on that for us, Dre?
You know, because that's within the LA area, LA Orange County area. That's like Venice Beach, one of the more west located areas in the LA area. Because to get from Venice Beach, because that's actually a good 15, 20-minute drive from downtown LA. So
it took longer than that, yeah.
yeah, and to get from Venice, all you know, because usually that drive, especially if you do it during the week, and if you do it during rush hour, oh man, you know, to get there within 90 minutes, that's actually pretty good. You know?
All right, I'll tell Pam that; she'll be thrilled.
Oh,
So one thing I find about California, it's a little bit unique in that there are a ton of options for sports. Like if you can find a day when there's nothing going on in your driving area, that's kind of unique. But knowing that the state had a number of financial issues a few years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the state did declare bankruptcy. Future stadiums were always going to be a problem getting state money. But we have seen that the Coliseum has had an upgrade to welcome the Rams. The Bank of California Stadium was built, and now there's one stadium that is almost done in SoFi Stadium for the Rams and Chargers, and another that's believed to be on the way. Are you surprised that these new stadiums actually happened, knowing the financial difficulties that the state of California had?
well, as for SoFi Stadium, because of course that was privately financed, that wasn't something that because what you were alluding to, the state's financial status, that wasn't something that was going to be paid through public funds. So the fact that that went through without, and I'm not entirely sure if it was all privately funded, but as for SoFi being up and coming, because the NFL had pushed for so long to bring football back here to Los Angeles, and when they do, they finally bring not only the Rams and the Chargers. Now, as to where the Chargers will be getting any support, that's another story. But no, I'm not really surprised at the fact that we're getting in. Actually, recently, the Clipper owner Ballmer, he purchased the Forum, and the Clippers. There's the talk isn't that them taking over, playing at the Forum, but actually building an arena for themselves on the property of where SoFi is. So that won't be happening anytime soon, but that would actually be, I think that would be a good move for the Clippers.
Yeah, they're the third wheel in the Staples Center, so that would be a good idea.
Yes, they could give them, you know, they could open up another, fan base out there. I mean, you've got a building fan base already, and it could only, them moving to Inglewood. Although one thing that could be that they could carry with them was the fact that the Lakers did play all those years in Inglewood, and they might still have some sort of a shadow casting over them if they move to Inglewood. But I still think it would be a good move if they could pull it off.
So you mentioned football, and I just wanted to get your take on this real quick. You said that the NFL had been pushing for a long time to get back into LA, which I totally agree with. Now, do you feel that in those years that the NFL was gone from Los Angeles, did you feel that Los Angeles really missed the NFL as much as the NFL missed Los Angeles?
Not really, because one thing about LA is there's a lot of transplants here. So a lot of people here in LA pull for teams of cities that they're originally from. Now, since the time that both the Rams and Raiders left LA in 1994, a lot of the fans out here have latched on to other teams, such as the Steelers, Dallas, Green Bay. Of course, there's a huge Raider following out here. Even when the Raiders did leave, their following never dwindled and may have even increased as well. So no, I wouldn't say that LA missed the NFL. I actually feel it was the NFL that needed LA more than LA needing the NFL.
Mark, did you have something?
Yeah, it's funny. I just listened to a newscast on YouTube from several years ago, and that's what they were saying. Like LA was okay not having a football team. So many other options, from the beach to Hollywood to Rodeo Drive, just being out in beautiful weather in February, that, and your other sports teams, that football was sort of okay. Well, if you come back, make sure you build your own stadium, since we don't want to fund it. But it's amazing that we have cities like that. It's amazing that we have towns where you can get by without football. So is LA more of a college football town, or is that safe to say, Andre?
Oh God,
Or is it a baseball town? Is it a soccer town? How would you describe it?
I would say that LA, it would be a toss-up between the Lakers and the Dodgers as to who runs LA. You would have asked that about 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been any doubt. It was a Laker town. And, right. And even during the down years, because the Lakers had been on top for so long, the fan base never went anywhere. And then, of course, with LeBron coming out here.
Well, they take everybody's stars. They took Shaq. They took Kobe. He was Charlotte's guy. They take whole teams.
Well, as a UCLA guy, I'm sure you would agree that Los Angeles did have professional football. They just played at the Coliseum. They were called USC. They paid their players a ton. They paid their coach a ton. They had professional football.
Well, about Reggie Bush.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
So let's pivot on to college, because one thing that a lot of people may not realize is there are a ton of Division I college sports out in the Southern California area. In fact, I think there's like 2 entire conferences made up entirely of Division I teams.
Oh God, aside from the obvious SC and UCLA, I mean, it's San Diego State, who was having a really good year basketball this year, and then UC Irvine, they were poised for another run as well. When it comes to the amount of Division I-A schools out here, especially in the other sports besides football and basketball, I mean, there's just an abundance of schools out here, like Cal State, especially the baseball programs, Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, UC Irvine, Pepperdine. It's just, and as someone was saying earlier, it's actually, if you were to time it right, you could actually go from not just one professional venue to another in one day. You could actually do a couple of college venues as well if you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, I can vouch for that because on our recent trip, we came out on a Saturday, flew out from Massachusetts on a Saturday. Actually, we flew from Rhode Island, but that's neither here nor there. Um,
Okay.
Saturday night we got in. We actually went to California Baptist and caught
All right.
a basketball game there that night after we came in. Really surprising arena. The small place seats about 5,000, but I was not expecting what I got. It was brand new, it was shiny, sparkly, a great place to go see a basketball game. And the Lancers are pretty good. I mean, they're in their second year of Division One, and they set a record last year for the most wins by a team in their first year of Division One. That record got broken this year by Merrimack, but still
Okay.
pretty impressive. And then so from there, the next few nights we did the we were supposed to do the Lakers, but that was the day of Kobe's helicopter crash.
Yeah.
Or
No.
no. I'm sorry, mixing it up. We did the Ontario Reign.
Yeah.
Then we did the there was the All-Star game. So Ontario was 2 days in a row. Then on the Tuesday, we were going to do the Agua Caliente Clippers,
Okay.
but we decided not to do that. We actually went to a show taping, did something Hollywood while we were out there. And then we did back-to-back nights. We did the Clippers, the Kings, and the Lakers. And then we did the Ducks, and then we flew home. So, yeah, Dave's point was spot on. There's just so many options.
Yeah, you're talking about. Sorry, you're talking about conferences. The Big West Conference is all California teams, with the exception of Hawaii, and then the West Coast Conference, which most people would know as the Gonzaga Conference,
Yeah.
has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, another 7 California teams, and those are kind of, I guess those would all be considered like mid-major, right? And then you've got, of course, your big guns that Dre was talking about as well. So there's you could just spend a lifetime just going to college stuff.
Any places that stand out for you, Dre, among the college venues that you've been to?
Oh God. Not to sound like a homer, but I would say Poly Pavilion. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's the most daunting college venue. Most all the college venues I've been to, most of them obviously I've been here on the West Coast, but Poly, it just has that mystique, that those 11 banners up there that can just for first time visitors just
I love banners. Banners
yeah.
make especially if they're championship banners, and
Well,
UCLA has a lot of them.
as they say, because Poly, just like the where the Celtics play, was it TD Potter? What is it?
TD
Paul?
Garden. Yep.
TD Garden. Only championship banners, not conference banners. You get to that level of excellence, you don't put up conference title banners.
That's right.
Be nice,
even
yeah.
our
Be nice if
rival
you can.
So do you think that the maybe to backtrack just slightly, do you think that the Clippers have any real chance of capturing the imagination of Los Angeles? Maybe I don't think on the level of the Lakers, but do you think they can encroach upon that point where they can sort of carve out their own little niche and garner that attention that they're craving?
I think they already have done it to. I mean, obviously, like as you said, not to the level of the Lakers, but the Clippers, because they've been relevant now for past how many seasons, and they were expected to possibly take on the Lakers deep into the Western Conference playoffs, possibly the conference title. I think at some, once the Clippers, of course, LA, it's also a town that likes winners, and it doesn't exactly go for the second place mentality. So the Clippers, I mean, it is going to be a while before they actually, I mean, they're never going to supplant the Lakers in terms of fan popularity out here in LA. But if they can get a title or two, then it could only help build up their fan base out here. But I don't think it could ever get to the they don't have the history. And that's another thing too. The Lakers, they have the history to also back up. As I was saying earlier, during the down years, when they went from 2014 up until last year without any playoff appearances. That was what their longest drought in how long. The fans, they still had the history to lean back on as well. And I guess when you have a team that's won 16 titles, you have your fan base. It's easy for a fan base to do that. As for the Clippers, they don't quite have that luxury. And again, they'd have to win a title or two to really, really wake up LA.
Well, I remember my one and only time at a Clippers game was in 1992, and they were playing at the Sports Arena.
Yes.
And that was the first time I think they had made the playoffs since they played in Buffalo.
They never made the playoffs in Buffalo.
What's that? Yeah.
Oh no, they made the playoffs a couple times in Buffalo. San Diego, they never made the playoffs.
Yeah, it was the first time I think since '76, and I remember thinking because I was in town for a week. I was going to go to the Laker game, but that day they were retiring Magic's number, so I opted to go to the Clipper game a few nights later. That was almost sold out. I'm like, really, a Clipper game is sold out, but they were doing well. So yeah, you're right. I think if they win, especially younger kids who don't really know who the Lakers are because they're little, but it's going to probably take a couple championships, and it's going to take many years for that to happen because the Clippers have been, up until recently, have not been a very successful franchise in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and one thing the Clippers have done is they've kind of positioned themselves as an affordable alternative. I know just with my experience when I was going out to LA, the Lakers game tickets, the cheapest ticket you could find was like $180.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a Clippers. Yeah, and I ended up getting a Clippers ticket. I think I paid $7.
Yeah.
Wow. $7.
I mean, in the normal price, I got a good deal on second, used tickets. But the regular price was half of what a Laker game would have gone for.
If they start winning, they'll be the same price. Maybe they should.
Even during the down years, Laker tickets are just, the prices were just so. I haven't been to a Laker game, believe it or not, in almost 20 years, since 2001. Because the prices are just that.
I believe it. I got the same problem out here with the Patriots.
So it's interesting, Dre, you're talking about, the LA being a first place team and being kind of a first place town and being like a star driven town. And I think one of the ways that this is best illustrated is through LA's deal with soccer. The Galaxy, very successful, a lot of big names, Landon Donovan, David Beckham, Ibrahimovic, and then they also had the Chivas, not nearly as successful, died off. Bring in the LAFC, bring in some big names, bring in some success, and again, it's a big successful enterprise.
Well, between with LAFC, because they've brought in another, they've opened up a new fan base for LA. Now, when it comes to the popularity of the sport, soccer, it's not quite up there with basketball or baseball, but there's been a rivalry. There's actually been an intense rivalry between Galaxy and LAFC. I guess because more so the fan bases, if not the teams, because LAFC, they opened up the Bank of California Stadium recently. Beautiful stadium.
Yeah, nice looking place.
Right there on the site of the old sports arena, and the thought to the Galaxy people is that LAFC caters to the bougie type LA crowd, which is not entirely true. One thing During the first year when I got a chance to review it, every fan should do if they ever make a trip out to Bank of California Stadium is to stand. I say stand because you can't sit out in that section. It's called the 3252s, and I can attest that it is one of the more rabid fan bases in LA, and they're just really into it the whole 60 minutes, jumping, enjoying, and anyone, you could be a diehard or a casual, anyone is welcome there. It's a one-time thing that any fan venturing into Bank of California Stadium should do.
Yeah, I heard great things about LAFC home. I'm a big Portland guy. I love what they have up there, and Louisville's has built a stadium too with their supporter sections as well, where you have to stand up. Is that true in LA that the fans sing the anthem?
They do, yes.
Yeah. That's I
I
love little things like that to hear about a stadium. That's what I love about soccer venues.
It's the fans that do lead the rest of the stadium onto the anthem.
So there's no anthem singer. It's just the fans.
Unless a team is from Canada, like Vancouver. But although I was kind of hoping to see if the fans would know the words to the Canadian anthem.
They may.
They do up in my part of the country.
You'd have to bring in the celebrities. You'd have to bring in like Kiefer Sutherland and Michael J. Fox and those guys to come in and lead it.
Shania
It's funny. Every time either Toronto, whenever the Maple Leafs, the Senators, or Canadians come out here, I'm always hoping the singer does the bilingual version of "Oh Canada."
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
It doesn't happen too often, but I think a lot of
That's
Americans.
actually one thing I look forward to when the Expos would come to Dodger Stadium. Like, okay,
nice.
Every now and then you actually would get someone that would sing the bilingual version.
So, Dre, you said you're I don't know if it was former or current season ticket holder UCLA football. Former. Okay, so here's your opportunity. Tell us about the Rose Bowl. Legendary venue. What's the Rose Bowl like for a UCLA game?
You know what? If UCLA is having a good season, it can be, it's one of the more scenic venues. One thing about the Rose Bowl, it's a good 30 miles from campus, so it's literally a road game for the Bruins because they don't have their own on-campus venue. It's been their home since 1982. Prior to that, they were sharing the Coliseum with USC, but UCLA has made it its home over the years. It's very historic, very scenic. Of course, it's probably more well known to the casual fan for games that are played there on January 1st rather than from September to November, late or early December. But it is a wonderful event, but because of its size and because of this is LA and there's so many other sports and entertainment and recreational options as well. If UCLA is not having the best season, the Rose Bowl can seem hollow, and you could have a decent crowd of, let's say, 50,000, and and the noise just fades. It's some of the empty seats are just obvious. There's no way of hiding it. So beautiful venue, but I wouldn't call it the most intimidating. The noise does tend to fade. And again, as I was saying, if you have a decent crowd of 50,000, it just doesn't really feel like a home game.
So how would it compare to the Coliseum for USC? Another legendary facility. Maybe I don't know if you consider it legendary for football. Obviously, the Olympics and
oh yes, definitely. I mean, with all the national championships that USC has accumulated, and of course with the Olympics, and having housed both the Raiders and Rams at one time. But SC football, I mean, they've seen a decline in attendance, a slight decline the last several years. A lot of it happens to be with the changes at the Coliseum and the increase in the price. And, the expectations for SC football are just much higher than, of course, UCLA. And if they're not putting a national title product out there, they're not filling the Coliseum up to all the way up to the rafters. And although their attendance, I mean, it hasn't suffered as much as UCLA's in the last couple of years, but they haven't exactly filled the place up, been able to entirely fill up the Coliseum either. Last year when they hosted Notre Dame, or was a couple of years ago, they actually failed to draw over 60,000 for the Notre Dame game. And then last season when they played UCLA, they drew 64,000, which is about 12,000 less than capacity. So, in comparing the two venues, it's hard to say which one really has gives the true, in terms of the intimidation factor. In terms of talking about SC and UCLA football, you could say SC, the Coliseum, because of its history and the success that USC has had over the years. That would have more of a home, you could argue that could have more of a home field than UCLA. Also the fact that SC, their campus is right across the street from Coliseum, where UCLA, it's a good 25, 30-mile trip for a home game at the Rose Bowl. And you might say in some ways that hurts recruitment as well.
Now, to get off college football subject, I'm a big minor league baseball guy. What can you tell us about the minor league ballparks of Southern California? Because surprisingly, there's quite a bit to choose from. Or is there quite a bit?
Especially single A.
Yeah, single A, California League.
I've had a chance to go to, Inland Empire, Rancho. I did go to Adelanto, but that was the Texas Rangers single A.
High Desert, yeah.
Yeah, High Desert before they ceased operation. See Lake Elsinore. There's a lot of good local support for the single A affiliates. I also forgot to mention Lancaster
Jethawks. Yeah, I was there about 3 years ago, and I leave it was a Memorial Day. I leave LA, which was about maybe 60 some degrees. It was very cool. I drove out to Lancaster, 90 degrees, hot, scorching desert heat. It's just amazing that you can go from like hour and a half drive from cool weather to scorching heat, but that's kind of how it is for those single A clubs. Like San Bernardino and Rancho Cucamonga, which you said the Quakes are one of your favorite ballparks. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. Rancho, I've been going there for about, 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and we catch about a couple of games a year over there. When I first started attending games there, that was the Angel single A. And then right after the 2010 season, wouldn't say it was it was a swap, but that was when teams, their contracts were up. So the Dodgers took over Rancho's, the Rancho organization, and the Angels took over Inland Empire, which had been the Dodgers prior. So for me, when the Dodgers had switched over to Rancho, that was a bit of a joy for me, because now I could and anytime you go to a Rancho game, you see a lot of Dodger blue in the stands. I had a chance to talk to their radio announcer a while back, and I asked him if being affiliated with the Dodgers helps with the brand recognition, and he said without a doubt. It's just because being part of wherever you go, because I've worn my Quakes shirt throughout the LA and Southern California area, and I've actually been a approached by people telling me, hey, yeah, Rancho. And it's like, oh, wow, people, as far as what you could even go out to, like,
It's a fun
Ventura
name to say,
County.
Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, and a lot of it, without a doubt, I think, it has to do with their affiliation with the Dodgers, because you go to Lancaster, you don't quite see fans having a connection with the Rockies, but you see them supporting the local nine there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of them. It probably is hard for them to make it out to a Dodger game, because Rancho being about 90 minutes without traffic.
Yeah,
From
that's the key, without traffic.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, when it comes to just the this is just even single A ballparks alone here in the Southern California
Now,
area, there's a good variety of them you can go to.
Now we're on the subject. Have you ever been to Bakersfield, to Sam Lynn Park?
I haven't.
Because I even when they had affiliate ball, I just heard how that place was such a dust bowl. How it was probably considered one of the worst minor league ballparks at the time. And I know they have the Pecos League team in there. I'm just curious to see how bad it is, because I just hear all these stories. You see pictures. It doesn't look like a serviceable ballpark anymore, but I was just curious if you had been up there, what it was actually like.
No, I haven't been able to hit up. The only single A's I've hit up are here in the Southland, Rancho, Inland Empire, Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, the classics, the good ones.
Lancaster, yeah.
So, do the Angels have the same kind of problem that the Clippers have, being kind of the redheaded stepchild of the sports scene out there? Or is it more of a city versus suburbs thing?
I would say it's more of a, I don't know if I could say city versus suburbs. I'd say it's more LA County versus Orange County when it comes to the Dodgers and Angels. The Angels, the bulk of their fan base is Orange County based. The Dodgers, them having the longer professional major league history, they have the vast fan base that taps out all the way into Orange County. Not that the Angels don't have their fan base out here, but it's still decidedly blue out here between LA and Orange County.
All right, so let's talk real quick. We mentioned Oracle Park a little while ago, and
Yes.
Always widely considered to be one of the better major league ballparks. Were you ever able to get the Candlestick while it was still open?
I was. I got there in 1994. Now, some of you may know I'm a 49er fan. It's my one Bay Area team, so I've seen quite a few Niner games up there. But I did catch a couple of Dodgers-Giants games up there in Candlestick.
I actually went to a Niners game in Candlestick too, so I can talk a little bit too.
Yeah, and Candlestick, it was excuse me, it was I don't know how to quite it wasn't quite. Let's just say that calling it a dump, a dump that the locals loved because it was their dump, but and it was a lot grittier, I would say, than of course Oracle Park. And if you dared wear your blue there inside Candlestick, you were subject to some of the wrath, to say, from the locals. Kind of like, I guess, wearing a Yankees hat inside Fenway Park.
Were the chilly nights as legendary as they say over at Candlestick? Because the time I went, we went to a Patriots Niners game, and we caught it in November, but it was 80 degrees. So we didn't get to experience the legendary. What do they call it? The quad candlestick.
Quad candlestick. Those pins they used to give out for those extra minute games. As for those, what they say is that the best time to go to San Francisco is actually October. That's one of its least windiest months. But as for football games, because a lot of them, they were played in the afternoon, so that may have been a factor as to why maybe certain games didn't quite have the wind factor as a lot of Giants games night games, and that's when the wind really kicked in off the bay. During the last few years at Candlestick, the Giants actually were playing a lot of day games. They were what played the second most day games in baseball, only behind the Cubs. 'Cause, they wanted to limit the amount of games where wind would be affected. But yeah, there's some stories up there about the wind, San Francisco's fog and wind. You know,
So can you talk about Levi Stadium at all?
Levi. Fortunately, in the 3 times I've been there in November, December, and recently the division playoff game against the Niners. I didn't feel like I said, I did go there later in the season, so I didn't quite feel the scorching heat, but I could see where, because I sat on the upper level on the east side, all games I attended there, and if you sit really high, the glare of the sun really can get to you, and I'm thinking, wow, it's if it's like this here in December, I wonder what it's really like in September. When everybody really is just making a scene out of scorching hot silicon weather.
All right, and I guess one more question about the Bay before we leave Oakland. What do you think is going to happen in Oakland? And have you visited the Coliseum? And is it as bad as they say?
Is it as bad as they say? That's putting it kindly. And I really am hoping that they do get their site over at Jack London Square. If all goes well, according to plan, it's supposed to be up and running by 2023. It's not going to be a retro yard. Of course, there's a lot of environmental and political challenges still ahead, although it's still gaining traction. And as of right now, it's looking like the project will get underway eventually. Oh, but of course, with what's going on right now, who's to say when or if the project will get going anytime soon?
Yeah, is that the one where they have gondolas taking fans from the parking lot, or was that another location?
Actually, there's talk about that and at Dodger Stadium as well. The one at Dodger Stadium, they're talking about having a gondola go from Union Station to up all the way to the stadium. And as for Oakland, what they're talking about is having a gondola go from the 12th Street BART station in downtown Oakland all the way to the grand entrance there, where their stadium would be over at Jack London Square, which would be about less than 2 miles.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to a couple games in Oakland. The last time I saw an A's game, you get off the BART stop, you have a bunch of panhandlers asking you for money. Then you walk across the bridge, and they had a beer festival earlier that day. So there's just a bunch of young millennials passed out from beer drinking. So you pass the panhandlers, the guy
Those must be
selling
some A's fans in the right field or in the bleachers.
Okay, so you pass the panhandlers, the guy selling the knockoff shirts. People passed out because they're drunk. Then there's a bunch of marijuana weed smell.
In Northern California, you don't say.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I getting myself into with this ballpark? But my wife liked the stadium. She liked it better than where the Giants play, Oracle
Park?
What?
I don't ask. She might be the only one who says that, but
Boy, ice cream comes in so many flavors.
Oh boy.
and that was a completely different experience as well. But I remember going to Oakland thinking, oh my goodness, where on earth am I at? So
Yeah, when we went to Oakland, we were staying in San Francisco, and the BART was on strike.
oh, beautiful.
So we had planned on taking the BART, but that was not an option. So we actually had to drive, and it took forever crossing the Bay Bridge because everybody had to do it. Nobody was taking any public transit. I think the ferry was still going, but that was I think that was more for pedestrians or something like that. And
Yeah.
it took forever. And the drive there was, it was all through like the industrial heartland of Oakland. It was not a pretty drive once you got off. I guess once you got past Berkeley, Berkeley was okay. But yeah, and then the stadium. My wife still hates that one. It's her least favorite by a long shot. But actually, what's interesting is having watched some retro stuff. The stadium actually looked a whole lot better before
Without
they built
Mount Davis.
Yes, it did. It did. Especially I was watching the World Series games from '72 to '73. Beautiful views of the hills, and that was my view in 1993 when I went there for the first time. I wish I had the pictures to prove it, but maybe they can knock that. Well, they're trying to build a new stadium, so they probably wouldn't invest into knocking Mount Davis down.
Not at this point.
No, it'd be nice if they could.
Although the talk is that if they do get the new stadium, that they would retain the current stadium and turn it into a park and rec. Keep the baseball field there and turn it into an amphitheater.
I think I saw that.
Setting. Yeah. So that could be one option once, and if they actually do get their new stadium.
But nothing in the works as of right now, right?
No, they've had some bad luck.
And probably not anytime soon.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
Them in Tampa Bay.
That's probably a good place to wrap it up for today. Dre, thanks for coming in and joining us and talking California sports venues with us. Do you want to let our listeners know where they can follow you online?
And they can follow once again, they can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at GoodDrei, GOOD_DREI.
All right, fantastic. Dan, where can our listeners follow you?
Nowhere.
All right, Dan is unavailable right now, but you can follow him Twitter, DanLaw83. Mark, how about you? Where can our listeners follow you online?
Ballpark Hunter on Twitter and Instagram, and also check out my videos every Monday and Thursday on YouTube at Ballpark Hunter as well.
Dave, where can our listeners follow you online?
Monday and Thursday.
Twitter and Instagram at ProFan9. Still trying to catch up to Mr. Baker and his sports movie watching, which I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do.
And we still got a week to go for that. You can follow me online on Twitter and Instagram at PuckmanRI. Check out our website, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Stadium Journey. You can find the Stadium Journey podcast and HIAC Talk Radio's other content at thebradyhicks.com, or watch all of our podcasts on YouTube at youtube.com/DanLaw83. Follow HIAC Talk Radio at HIAC Talk Radio. So for Andrei Ojeda, for Dan Calachico, Mark Viquez, and Dave Cotney, I'm Paul Baker. Until next time, everyone, please take care of yourselves, and more importantly right now, take care of each other.